Yeah, it's maybe, I think that should be it.
Okay, yes, stream is live.
Recording, and it's saying it's kind of recording in progress, it says to me in the back end. So hopefully it's recording for everyone that can't make it, because I know that there have been a few people saying they've got things on, which is understandable considering we've just sprung it on. Well, that is good, actually. I'm such a bad parent. Like that, the kids will be fine. Go away, you're fine.
Dad'll look after you.
Exactly.
Oh,
right. So let's
up now.
Yeah, that's
We've got Victoria and Claire, and Sylvia, Liz,
Can you
Emma.
See yep.
Yeah, in the comments.
See,
hi, everyone.
Sorry.
I
said it's so fancy, isn't it? I love the fact you can see comments on the screen. I think that makes it definitely connects better with people as well, because they feel like they're actually being heard.
Yeah.
So we have basically decided to do this on a whim, really, haven't we? There's no
there's
no actual set list of things that we wanted to go through. We basically just went, we need to have a chat about this. Why not invite everybody and we'll see where it takes us type thing. So if anyone's watching and expecting it to be really well put together,
that's not going to happen.
It's going to be as good as what you think it's going to be. But for those of you that have been kind of dipping in and out of the group page, certainly I have been putting up a few different polls and things just to see where everyone stands in terms of their own experiences when it comes to seeing social media content, particularly in our sector, but also stepping into things like our education and things that we've had through our training, any areas that we think are possibly lacking or slacking. And it's just been really, really great to get some of your experiences as well in advance to this session this evening, because it's given us an idea of basically where to begin. So I'm going to pass it over to Sue, and I'm going to ask Sue
thank you, throw me under the bus.
Just to basically introduce yourself, just in case there's people here that haven't a clue why we are doing this or who we are. It's probably a good idea to actually do something formal like that.
Okay, so I think a lot of people actually know me already. So, as you know, I'm Sue Williamson. And I was thinking about this morning because I often refer to myself as a grooming behaviourist. But I always think that grooming behaviourist suggests that the dog's behaviour is bad. So perhaps I ought to call myself a canine sensitive grooming specialist, something like that. I have no idea. I keep trying to come up with this term that sort of explains what I do. But basically, I've been a dog groomer now for 9 years. I don't know where that 9 years has gone. And I came into the industry straight from leaving a full-time employed job. Exceptional leap of faith, completely unlike me. But I was already studying to be a talent and T-touch practitioner, so I knew from the word go that I wanted to offer dogs something different. I wanted to be able to create a calm environment. So that's why I decided to open my own salon in my garden, fortunately inside a shed. I don't have to sit on the grass. But really that then sparked all my other qualifications as well. So I did the ICP Canine Psychology and Behaviour Diploma. Then I went on to do, I passed my talent and T-touch, and I'm a level 2 practitioner now. I'm also a Reiki practitioner too, an animal-centered education advanced tutor. Then we did both did the low stress handling during lockdown. But my two most recent qualifications are a little bit outside of what we would expect. Well, I suppose a lot of it's a bit outside what we'd expect groomers to do. But I've also just become a Galen foundational postural analyst, which gives us training on how to pick up muscular or joint issues. And I must admit, I am seeing so much more now, and I know more about it, particularly of the dogs I groom. But I also see it in the street as well, which is awful because I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, as well, can't you know?
Oh, yeah, just blinkers on sometimes. And I've also just finished the dog mediator, family dog mediator with uh, Kim Brophy, which is all about evolution of dogs. But one of the key topic that's sparked my interest was legs, which is learning environment, genetics, and the self. And that is just made massive difference again to grooming. So with all these qualifications on top of my grooming, which I haven't got an official qualification, hands up, I'm not officially qualified through one of the professional bodies. I did a 60-day salon training. So, and to be quite honest, with the way I groom now, I could have probably got away with 10 days because um, I'm I don't do many. It's mostly pet grooms I do, welfare grooms, because I only do dogs that have been referred to me now. So it's a bit different to traditional grooming. I don't do breed standards. Um, Sometimes I send them home half finished, etc. So if you want
That's a
to,
long list. That's a long list. I'm just trying to fix. Obviously, a couple of people are saying they're not getting anything from us, but a few of them seem to be listening and finding it fine. So I'm just trying to fix this behind the scenes while you talk on. But this is your teething problem. So Suzanne Bradbury, you're hearing us okay. Let us know in the comments if anyone else is struggling to hear. Obviously the conversation. I noticed 2 people so far, and I don't understand why it's maybe
yeah,
working.
sometimes if they go out and come back in, that can reset it, can't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
it
god,
looks
that's
like everybody else.
hopefully you can get on it right. Are you following the link that I shared on the group? Let me know that, because obviously, so Liz was saying hers was muted, so that's what when she changed it, that was fine. That's fine. So okay, so if Lorna and maybe better just letting them do it then, because if they can't hear me and I'm telling them what to do, they're not going to know what to do. But you know what? Honestly,
Start sign language.
I don't even have a clue where to start with that. But I'm a very similar background to you, Sue, as you well know, and
Yep.
probably a lot of people watching this evening know my background as well. So I have been grooming now for 8 years, so slightly less than Sue. And my training experience was just horrendous. So a lot of people who have been commenting on their experience, mine was very similar. It certainly highlighted massive gaps in the industry, which then obviously catapulted me into researching more about behaviour and low stress handling techniques and things like that. So, much like Sue's background, I started studying with ISCP, which is where I came across Sue, and we completed our behaviour diploma kind of roughly the same time, didn't we? So that was good.
Yeah.
And then do you know what? It was kind of like mirroring experience, wasn't it? Really, our journey up until a certain point. And now what I'm currently working on is my Compass training. So I'm doing my advanced canine behaviour course with Compass training so that I can become an ABTC registered behaviourist as well. So that's kind of, I wish I'd never started that way, trying to find the time. But also once you start seeing things, you just simply can't unsee them. And it's one of those things where I think somebody had tapped into earlier on is like, having these sorts of buzzwords to say that you're this and you're that might make other groomers who are maybe doing similar things seem like they're less qualified. But what I found really interesting was when I first started, like those 8 years ago, I genuinely thought that my approach was low stress, because I could identify through my training that, something just wasn't quite right and I was trying to adapt things. But it was only until I started doing the behaviour course where I thought, oh my goodness, looking back and footage back then, now I'm like, there's so much I could have done better. And you think it's just a constant evolution for us, isn't it, really?
Yeah, but I think it's that thing, once you know better, you can do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you know better but decide not to do better, then that's up to your own internal moral compass, I think. I
Yeah.
can't, I physically cannot force the dog to do anything anymore. And I have, as I said in the introduction, I do specialise in dogs now that have been banned in other salons. So I don't do any fancy grooms because I just don't
Yeah.
take normal dogs on anymore. I don't take dogs on that can cope with the grooming process. So I do the sort of the worst of the worst. When they come to me, it's because they've been banned elsewhere, and
Yeah.
then I just work with them from the ground upwards. So I think our grooming, day-to-day grooming, is very different to a lot of people's, because certainly I only groom dogs that have been referred to me for behavioural issues.
Yeah. How do
And
you find yourself with the carers with that sort of process? Because obviously a lot of people are tapping into, a lot of it comes down to carer education, and expectations as well in terms of unrealistic ones. Um,
to be fair, now I'm in a really good place now, because for most of the dogs I groom now, I'm last chance saloon. Um,
yeah,
the next step. In fact, some of them have had sedated grooms before being referred to me, but they've probably been banned from 3 or 4 different groomers.
yeah,
So if they're not prepared to work with me, then it's really sedated grooms, because
yeah,
nobody else is gonna take them on when they've been banned from 3 or 4 places. But I did find, when I first qualified, and once I first started once I'd done my diploma, and I was really focusing on the behaviour side, and I was finding some God, I refer to them as guardians usually, but I'm going to use the language most groomers use and say owners for today. A lot of owners would um, come for the first session, and then it wasn't for them. They just couldn't be bothered to wait 2 or 3 sessions to get the dog comfortable to be groomed. And at that point, I'd not got much of a reputation for taking on these dogs, and had not got any case studies. But I've found now, because of my reputation, I only get people come to me that are serious about my skill set and what I can do for their dogs.
yeah,
So, but in the early days, it was really difficult to um, attract the right clientele for me, because I just didn't want to. I wasn't prepared to push a dog through a full groom,
yeah,
and that's what a lot of owners do want. So, I think the I've definitely noticed, over the last 3 or 4 years, there are more and more people, though, wanting a more dog-centered approach. So
yeah,
the demand is out there. I've got, in my Facebook group, I let people are allowed to send in, oh, I need a groomer in X area or Y area, and I must have about probably 30 different areas where people are wanting groomers that use the same approach as we do, but there's nobody in those areas at the moment that we know of. I'm
which
sure
is
there are
really,
groomers in those areas, but I don't know of them personally. And I've got to the point now where I won't recommend anybody unless they've been approved through my approved groomer thing, or I know that the group they're approved through your Holistic Grooming Academy, because um, I used to let them say, "Oh, I'm in your area, I can groom your dog," and I got a few complaints where they said they used my approach, but they didn't. Fortunately, the owners picked up on that before they put the dog through that stressful um, environment. But it just flagged up to me that we need to change this. We need to do something to ensure that people that are saying they use a low stress, force free um, approach, or a dog centered approach, because we know that low stress is probably the best we can hope for. We're never going to get some dogs
yeah,
to a stress free state, because
yeah,
it it's just too difficult for them. And again, with fear-free, some dogs, I know that even some of the dogs I groom that are appear to be willing participants, they've still got that underlying fear. If they hadn't got the freedom to move about, if I put restraints on, safety aids on them, then they would revert back to aggressive behaviours. So I don't think we can say fear-free. Oh no, I know there is the qualification, and I'm also a bit about low stress as well. So perhaps calling it a dog-centered approach is
Yeah.
probably the most accurate. Following the dog's body language, their ability to cope, building things up gradually. So it's it's really difficult because of these 2 or 3 bad experiences I've had where I have referred owners to particular groomers. It's made me really suspicious now of
That's a nice way to say it. Care-centered approach.
care-centered approach. Yeah.
Yeah. There is actually, Catherine's also commented about it's been difficult to obviously convince carers to reach the vets and also for vets to take groomers seriously as well. I think that's a really important.
Absolutely.
And hopefully there are a couple of, and I know that Rachel Bean is intending to listen, whether she's listening live or tuning in later, and also Sophie Bell, who's a
Sophie said she was.
that
Yeah,
she's on.
Sophie was going to join as well.
Yeah, and you know what? They're the types of advocates that we really need as well, because it's all about, it's not just looking at the relationship between groomer and carer, but it's also out with that as well. The whole sector needs to get involved in terms of behaviourist trainers, but we all have to start working together.
Yeah, absolutely. I work with a few local behaviourists who refer dogs to me, and I refer dogs to them. A couple of cases we've got with the behaviourist that lives most locally, Carla. We're both working together to help several dogs. She's doing things like the muzzle training, whereas I'm doing the actual grooming part and reintroducing grooming in a positive way. So we're able to work together on the same level. We're both working to the same page, sort of thing. We're not doing 2 different things, which is really good. I always know when dogs have come from Carl because they already know about the owners already know about body language. They know about trigger stacking. So they've got a head start really because they're already well educated on some of the major dog behavior facts that I think everybody owning a dog should know, but also anybody working with dogs, it's an absolute must.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bit that's lacking in the industry to a certain extent, is that there's not enough, even by your survey you did today, there's obviously not enough dog behaviour education in the training. And I think some of this actually comes back to the trainers, the grooming trainers haven't got that knowledge themselves. They've not kept up with, the recent scientific changes. So they can't if they don't know it, they can't teach it.
Yeah, that's in fact Matthew Spry. I was just because we were saying that there, I remembered a comment from someone on the poll that we did in terms of how do you think we can make our industry safer and more ethical. And Matthew Spry actually tapped into that. He said that the first place to start is grooming schools should be regulated and tutors should be forced to complete yearly minimum CPD training to stay relevant to the industry and best practice. He just kind of nipped the nail on the head there, didn't he? That
Absolutely.
is if your tutors don't know much about it, then there's no way we're going to learn.
Yeah, I mean we've discussed this before. We think the whole groomer education needs a massive overhaul. For having no behaviour included in the training is leaving groomers open to being bitten, scratched, stressed, and it's leaving dogs open to being injured, whether that's physically, emotionally, or mentally. And it's not the groomer's fault if they haven't been given that knowledge to keep themselves safe or to keep the dog safe. Then it's an industry issue rather than an individual issue. And somebody put a comment in my Facebook group the other day saying, because dog behaviour is not included in training courses, trainee groomers don't think it's important, so don't bother learning about it.
Yeah.
They think it's, because it's not included in the curriculum. They think, oh, well, they probably don't even consider it. But even if they do consider it, they think, oh, probably it's not worth it. Then not worth me doing any extra because it's not necessary.
It's that outdated ideology that groomers are groomers, behaviourists are behaviourists, trainers are trainers. So why would we venture into the sectors that don't quite fit what we do? And it's trying to eradicate that because obviously it's all connected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go and do a full behaviour course like we did, or do all the extra courses that we seem to be continually doing. It's finding people like us that keep up to date with the scientific evidence-based training and behaviour. Because whenever I go to conferences and I learn anything online, my first thing is, whenever I hear any new information, my first thing is always, how can I apply this to grooming? How can I use this information to help other groomers? So by choosing who you learn from, you can reduce the need to do all this extra training if you need to.
That's it. That is so true, because we don't want to replace really good behaviourists out there are there for a specific reason, and it's more specialised care.
Absolutely.
But if you're looking from the context of a grooming environment, it's a very different scenario as well. And I try and explain that to people. It's like a lot of behaviourists and trainers don't quite know the intricacies of the grooming environment. So it's very hard for them to give them insights of a grooming environment if they're not really in that environment either. So we could actually work
I must admit, I've had quite a few behaviourists and trainers come in to
Yeah,
observe the groom, just so that they can see what happens, so that they can talk to their owners and puppy train, puppy classes and that they can talk about grooming in their sessions as well. It's not. It's like, it takes a village to raise a child, and it's the same with dogs. It takes sometimes it takes a team to help a dog. It's not just the groomer. It could be the behaviourist, a trainer, a physiotherapist, a vet, or vet behaviourist. I've just been recently working with a vet behaviourist for one of the dogs I groom. So it's lots of different people can be involved in that one dog's experience.
Yeah. Do you not find as well, a lot of the kind of conversations that do happen, like the serious ones, like the really potentially life-changing ones, they never seldom include groomers in the conversation. It's like, it's not significant. So it's like raising awareness as well, again, of how significant an experience in the groomers actually is to the dog in terms of the overall well-being for days and days after as well. Yeah. It's one of those ones where we tap back into the very kind of original purpose of this session this evening. So is that, these videos that are circulating social media, this is the reason why these people are not including us in conversations, because they don't take it seriously, and are not.
And I think we've got videos like that where the dogs are really stressed, the groomer's completely ignoring all body language, they don't show any empathy or compassion for the dogs. But then on the other side, we get lots of groomers sharing beautiful grooms. We never, and I'm guilty of this as well. It's rare I put one of my grooms on, other than in my personal Facebook page. And it's not that they're bad grooms; it's just that they're no match to some of these beautifully turned out grooms. And I take absolutely nothing away from these really artistic groomers that can produce these gorgeous grooms. But because of the dogs I groom, I just don't get that opportunity to. So I think it's because most other pet professionals just see either these really distressing videos, or they see these beautiful turned out
Yeah.
grooms. So they don't take us seriously because of all this
There's two different
lack of
sides of the coin.
lack of compassion. And we know ourselves. You cannot get this perfectly groomed dog out of a dog that's fighting you on the table.
Yeah.
you,
I think
you can only
you're hitting a really good point. It's not about discrediting the actual art form of styling. I always say there's a difference between grooming and styling. Styling is the
yeah
art form, but grooming's the experience. And if you're not getting experience for the dog first, then what really is the purpose of the style really other than for human desire? It's like there's no benefit for the dog other than it looks pretty. Don't know why I went all American there. It looks pretty. It has to start with the right foundation, and then you can build yourself up to that, hopefully, eventually in the end anyway. So it's not like we're trying to say, don't aspire to be amazing stylists, but just get the first part of it first.
yeah and it's horses for courses as well. If you want to specialize in these gorgeous grooms, then there's guardians, owners out there that want those, and there are dogs out there that can cope with those, but don't try and fit a square peg into a round hole. If the dog is really anxious, then no amount of safety aids and that is going to let you finish up with this beautifully groomed dog. So it's getting the right dog for the right groomer with the right owner. If those three don't match, that's where we're really struggling in the industry at the moment, because we're getting I was going to say inexperienced groomers trying to groom difficult dogs, but I don't even think it's inexperienced groomers. I think
No,
it's
it's an outdated approach.
yeah
It's a
it's
approach or a culture.
yeah and it's groomers taking on every dog that comes in through the door, and trying to apply the same techniques to all dogs, which is just you do this standard groom. You do everything in the set order,
Yeah.
and some dogs just can't cope with that. So groomers are trying to make the dogs fit into that square hole sort of thing, when the dog really cannot cope with being in that square hole. And it's getting groomers to recognise this dog won't fit my skill set, but what's it down the road is really good with these sort of dogs. So let's move this dog over to a groomer with more handling and behaviour experience, and that leaves me a space for other dogs that can cope with it.
And
So
so you're talking more
it's
about collaboration, isn't it? Really, and working together rather than seeing one another as competitors.
absolutely. I'm on a WhatsApp group, and I think there's probably about 20 local groomers within about a 3-mile area. We're
Mhm.
overloaded with groomers round us, but somebody will say, "Oh, somebody wants this dog hand stripping." Oh well, Anne's the lady for you then. And oh, this dog's got behavioural issues. Oh well, that's Sue
Yeah,
or I can't think of her name now, Stacey. So we're not thinking, well, all the dogs are mine, I'm getting all these dogs
that,
myself.
yeah,
We're directing them to the best person to suit the owner, the dog, and the groomer, so that all three are lined up to make a more care-centered approach. It's no
yeah.
use me trying to do a breed standard on a schnauzer, because it's just not going to happen. So,
Decision
it's referring to the best person.
and I think it's crucial, and that's probably why as well it's really important to get to know the groomers around your area, but also the professional behaviourists and the trainers and things like that, and building a community, a network round about where you stay, so that you have got that bounce back. I know a lot of groomers that kind of practice what we do are solo groomers as well, and there's always that contingency plan where what happens if you fall sick, or what happens if you have a baby, or there's those kind of life occurrences that just spring on you, left, right, and centre, and you don't have anyone then to kind of rely on at the same time. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to
But
have that.
I think like this as well is where the owners come back in. As you know, last year I had a knee replacement, and I communicated with my human clients that I was having this surgery. I'd be out of action for at least 6 weeks, and I was able to plan around it. I know you don't always know if you have an accident and you're out for 6 weeks. That's a different matter, but building up a relationship with your human clients as well as your canine clients is massive. And it's the communication as well with owners. I mean, last year I took on quite a few new dogs because I'd had some of mine had moved. I had sort of 4 move area at the same time, and I had 2 or 3 pass away, and I'd not taken any new ones on because I knew I'd got to have my knee done. So I did take a lot on. I took about 10 on at once. But there was this one poor lady, and honestly, she came in a cockapoo. She came in the first session, and she just cried the first session because she'd been taking her dog to a groomer since she was a puppy, and she'd been getting, oh, she's been really good today, she's been really good. And then as she reached adolescence, oh, she's been a bit snappy today. And also she was getting criticised because the dog was matted. She was getting matted, but at no point did the groomer show her how to line brush, didn't show the right techniques, didn't recommend the right brush, didn't, show her the important places like the armpits and the hygiene area and the ears to make sure that they're really well maintained. And she was just getting told off every time she went to this groomer. And then on top of that, she was just told every time that the dog's behaviour was getting worse. The dog was being really aggressive. Now, I can understand that. And she eventually told her that she couldn't groom her anymore because she was too aggressive and behaviour was too bad. Now, at no point did this groomer tell the client that your dog is really scared of the dryer. Can you do X, Y, and Z at home? Can you get a trainer involved? Can you get a behaviourist involved? And this lady was 100% open to doing anything she could to help her dog and help the groomer.
Yeah.
So she just, honestly, she just came and she just sobbed the first session. And I think a lot of that was relief because she'd found somebody that was willing to communicate with her. So I think that's something as well we need to improve in the industry, talking to the owners, not just saying, oh, your dog's been fine, giving them honest feedback, and yes,
But
sometimes you don't recognise.
Like, a lot of
Sorry?
groomers will not when it comes to, say, a lot of groomers will tell them the truth, but it's not really the reality of what's going on behind the scenes either. It's in a case of, oh, your dog has been impossible because your dog's got issues, or your dog's been dramatic and you're too soft with the dog and things like that as well. So again, it's the
Absolutely,
right
absolutely.
communication. And also what I say to students is video everything, video every single session, because in that way, if you have
Absolutely.
you can at least then show them exactly what it is that's going on. And it's also safeguarding yourself as well in instances where you might get accused of not doing anything with the dog, and then I've had groomers say as well that, but there's carers that will say, I'm not paying for the groom because the groom is not complete. There's that sort of thing you're kind of working with as well. So how do we get?
And I think that's where other professionals can help us.
Yeah.
If we get trainers and behaviourists on board to talk about them in their puppy classes, when they go to one-to-ones, talk about grooming and expectations, because many of the behavioural problems, such as resource guarding, that's got a massive link to grooming aversion. There's a massive link there. Then you've obviously got separation anxiety. If you've got a dog with separation anxiety that, they bring it into the salon, then they go. That separation anxiety is going to have a massive impact on that dog's nervous system and its ability to cope being groomed. Even, I'm sure you had the same as well. I've even got some dogs that have got separation anxiety that are totally ungroomable unless their person is there with them.
Yeah. But then
And
it's
it just
trying to
makes so much difference.
as well, isn't it? That carers can't be present because that makes the dog worse. And it's, again, every dog's an individual. Sometimes that might be the case, but in most cases, it's actually the opposite.
Absolutely. I probably have at least 50% of my owners stay, and it just makes it so much better. I recently took on a golden doodle that again had been banned from another salon. This dog is a complete sweetheart. The only difference is his person is there for being groomed, so he's
Yeah.
confident, he's relaxed,
Safe
and
space.
it's it's a no-brainer for me. If that's the thing that makes the difference between him being relaxed for grooming and being stressed and, having to, because I would, he's a big dog,
Yeah.
I would probably struggle with him on my own if he started um, doing, as the video we saw last week, he would be like that, but
Yeah.
because his person's there, he's relaxed, he's confident, he's happy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, that's something else that we could do in the industry if more groomers were willing to let owners stay. And it is a
Mm-hmm.
difficult conversation, and it's about, and I think the way I introduce new dogs into my salon, because I don't groom them the first time, they do free work the first session, and I gradually build the dog's confidence up within the salon and then with me, and then I start the grooming. By which time the dog's confident with me, so it doesn't need it once its owner there, but they don't keep going back to the owner. Whereas I think if I sort of tried to groom from day one, then they might gravitate to their owner a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's also, again, it's this it's about the right client for the right people,
Yeah.
and the right dog.
One of the things that were on the comments of that video that was circulating with the doodle type dog was there was a lot of comments referring to the breed as well. Like, obviously, all doodles are high maintenance, and they're all quite sensitive and blah, blah, blah. But what I actually found interesting is when I was doing Natalie's course, the data method, obviously she delves into techniques in terms of what kind of tools you should be using, how to use them
Yeah.
safely, the significance of obviously skin and coat care. And one of the things that she speaks about is slicker brushes. So when that statement's been made, obviously doodles are quite kind of notorious for being quite sensitive dogs. Is there a link then between the tools that these dogs are basically having used on them and their behaviour? Because if you're using the likes of a slicker brush, then that's going to cause some sort of behavioural response.
Yeah.
And that's maybe why we're seeing it so much in doodles, is because the tools we're using are maybe not the best sort of tools to be using.
Yeah, absolutely. Tools is a massive thing. And I think if some research could be done into poodle crosses, my experience is a lot of them are exceptionally touch sensitive.
Yeah.
And there's a condition in humans, which is allodynia, which is where things that shouldn't hurt do hurt. So for some people, that might be putting on a blouse and it hurts them. Whereas, we can put a blouse on, it doesn't hurt us. And I honestly think that some of the poodle crosses have got this allodynia. So using a slicker brush on them is far
Yeah.
too painful for them. So again, it's about thinking about the tools you use. So last year I got sent some brushes from Mickey, Miki, and they do a beautiful doodle brush, which is a pin brush. And it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. It's made such a difference to a lot of the dogs I groom. And it's quite cheap, in comparison with some of the brushes out there. So it's affordable for the owners as well. But it has made such a massive difference. The tangle teaser, again, that's made a massive difference.
Yeah.
to some of the. But again, it's about if the owners are not able to brush on a regular basis because the dog is finding it too uncomfortable, then it's a short groom. It's a 7F, the 6F, it's
Yeah.
let's not keep putting these dogs through painful experiences and expecting things to change.
Because the reality is we're not having show dogs in the salons. Like that is not our bread and butter. Like the majority of groomers are not going to see dogs that are ready to be styled to full standards. So it's trying to work with what we have and have realistic expectations. And sometimes that might mean breaking down sessions into fewer, shorter sessions.
Absolutely.
It's whereas Joy just said I had a dog referred to me by another local groomer as it was frantic and thrashing around when doing his legs. The groomer said she didn't want to force the dog but managed a full groom. When coming to me and making a plan, the first thing the guardian said to me was, "Bear in mind, he'll need a full groom in 6 weeks." My response was, "There's no guarantees. We go at the dog's own pace." After 3 short they told they won't be coming again. I was so flustered. But there is that expectation, isn't it, by carers that, and it's what Sue tapped into earlier on with, you have, on the one hand, you've got dogs thrashing around on videos, and on the other hand, you've got these beautiful, beautiful kind of freshly styled dogs, and they have that expectation that that's what they're going to get. But it's just, if everyone combines sharing the same message, then those expectations will have to change.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it. We've got to get more information out to the general public of what grooming entails. And I must admit, when I did my training, I had no idea how much went into a groom. Most of the grooms I did when I first started, most of them were doodles. So up to 3 hours. 3 hours on a grooming table. It's
No,
just
no,
absolutely mind blowing. Bearing in mind, I stand up for an hour and I'm shattered. Um, and to go through a really negative experience like that for 3 hours, the stress that builds up, and stress is exhausting in itself. And
no,
then those poor dogs go home and they're tired, they don't want to interact with people. And then it comes back to, oh, I don't know what the groomer's done to my dog, but it just wants to sleep all day and it's really depressed. And it's not because the groomer has done anything horrible to the dog or physically injured the dog, but it's that 3 hours or 2 hours standing up and going through that stressful experience as well. So again, breaking down the grooms, I would say probably 40% of my dogs are bathed at home the day before, and then
mhm,
I just do the clip in. Or I've got a couple of dogs that cannot be bathed for various reasons, so I just do a dry clip. I'm lucky my son's a blade sharpener, so I don't have to worry about my blades going blunt quickly, and I don't really think it makes that much difference anyway. Keep your older blades for pre-clipping and dry clipping, and you're well away.
yeah. Victoria's saying that there's only a few occasions where she'll have a dog in for 3 hours. I suppose as long as you're breaking those sessions up as well and the dog is showing no serious signs of distress, then it can be okay. But it's a case of being able to be confident in your own observational skills as well and knowing when to call it a day is the key, isn't it? Um,
Uh, and again, this comes down to communications, our communication skills with the dogs, and observing their communication as well. It's
yeah,
a lot of groomers. I know when I used to do my workshops, two of the areas I always covered in my workshops was body language and trigger stacking, and both of them, you just get blank faces all the way around. And, I used to try and make it a little bit more interactive, so it wasn't me just talking all the time. And I'd say, oh, can you list some body language that would indicate a dog might be stressed? And automatically they go to the growling, the snapping, missing all those little quiet signs that are the exact place we want to. things we want to see. You know, we want to be able to look, you know, the whale eye, the paw lift, the lip licking, the little quiet ones. Because if we change what we're doing, why they're just whispering at us, things don't escalate then to the dog having to shout to stop
Yeah.
us doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it might just
And
be, you know,
dogs don't have the capability to be patient. It's like children as well. Like they have a shorter attention span, and and you think as well, when you're going for a hair appointment, you get to sit down. How many dogs are
yes.
given that opportunity to just sit down and relax? They're always expected to stand conventionally. It's unrealistic in many ways
And the
as
thing
well.
is, when we go to the hairdressers, we wouldn't dream of going to the hairdressers. We're not seeing her hair, would we?
Well, that's true. Oh
So
gosh, you know, as a child, when your mum used to brush your knots out your hair, and your child, honestly, it would be awful. I remember actually when I was younger, my nana was old school, and she used to get you in the sink with a jug and just pour water over your face, and that was you getting your hair washed. And honestly, I blame her for having an aversion to water. Like I can't swim or anything, because see, as soon as it passes my chest, I panic. And I'm telling you, that's trauma from how my nana used to wash my hair.
sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I shouldn't laugh.
To get the sink and a jug of water over your face, and you felt like you were drowning. You honestly did. And that is what dogs are going through every single day in the salon. You know, that's the issue. I think from the polls that we put up earlier on as well, it's clear that there's just not near enough education on communication, observation, behaviour, handling, anything like that. And those that are getting that sort of experience, it's very little, maybe further down the line as well, even after they've learned how to style. And in some cases, it's references like Cesar Milan and people that we know now practice more outdated. You know, it's like, oh.
I mean, realistically, I think the grooming training should include at least 5 days of things like canine communication, trigger stacking, but then desensitization. We know for sure that a lot of groomers are using flooding techniques rather than desensitization.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know the difference between flooding and desensitization, flooding is making the dog face the fears. And that might be something like holding onto the dog's leg until it gives up. And then you start grooming, brushing it or clipping it, or you might let it go. Whereas desensitization would start at a much lower level of what the dog can cope with. So if we're thinking about something like the air dryer, for flooding, you'd have the dryer right on them, full blast, and you just keep doing it until they give in. Which, yes, it means you can get the job done because they're not moving, but that's a very dangerous way of approaching it, because the chances are they'll suddenly flip and go into fight rather than shut down mode. Whereas desensitization would be having your dryer on its lowest setting as far away from the dog as possible, and then gradually just either moving the dryer a little bit closer, and as their body language comes more relaxed, so you only go at the dog's pace. So that's the difference between flooding and desensitization. But again, that's not included in training. You're not
No.
told about how to counter condition. You're not told about positive reinforcements. And again, a lot of groomers won't use food for grooming. Again, this comes back to, oh, well, if I cause stomach upset, the owners won't be very happy. But, just get the owners to bring the dog's own food in.
Yeah.
Food
But
is
reinforcers. There's other reinforcers as well, so there's no excuse even if they don't want to use food. There's other reinforcers. So
absolutely. I've got a dog. I've been working with him since, actually he's probably is amazing. He was banned by several groomers, and he'd been sedated for about the previous 18 months. By the 4th session, I was able to clip him. He was amazing. And now, less than a year on, about 9 months on now, he's probably my easiest dog to groom now, but he loves the ball. So he spends the whole groom with a ball in his mouth.
Yeah.
But if he lets go of that ball, I have to stop grooming. I'm
So
only
that's
allowed to clip him. Yeah, I'm only
yeah,
allowed to clip him while he's got the ball in his mouth. It's this, or at least the ball close to him. It's
yeah.
almost his safety blanket.
It's like a pacifier. You find it a
Absolutely,
lot in
yeah.
your kind of golden retrievers and your kind of game dogs as well. They like to hold something like a stick or a rubber duck or something like that. And
Yeah,
it's all relative to each dog. So reinforcement doesn't necessarily have to be including food into your salon. I know there's obviously instances where you can't do that for whatever reason. For example, I always used to say that's why I've always groomed Nala myself. But if she was to go into a grooming environment, she couldn't have food anywhere near the space because she that's her
she
trigger.
resource
Um,
guards. Yeah.
she would eat the person. So her reinforcer would have to be something else. I don't really know. She's not really into. She's so lazy. She doesn't like to play or anything. Albeit she had a game of fetch for the first time ever the other night there with
Oh,
her, and I cannot believe she did it. 8-year-old, honestly, and that was her first game of fetch. But every dog, the point is, every dog is different, and it's trying to find what works for each individual dog, and that sort of thing as well is just simply not covered in our training. Dominique said that belly bands can be helpful for support of older dogs, but some people don't use them properly. And again, that's a really good point. Like how they're taught as well. It's like that misconception that safety in the grooming environment must be restrained. And it's like having to eradicate that as well. That there's two types of safety. There's the physical safety, which is us controlling the dog, and then there's emotional safety where the dog feels safe. And ultimately, if a dog feels safe, then you're not going to have the behaviours that you would probably
absolutely.
in the dog in the first place. So if you can achieve the emotional safety, then there'd be no need for the physical restraints. But equally, belly bands can, and there's some obviously other restraints that can be used to help support a dog when introduced the right way.
Yeah, it's the same as the hammocks,
Yeah,
used for the right dog, for the right situation, with the feet touching the table. They can
yeah,
be a massive support just to do, um, a 2 minutes work on the bottom of the paws for a dog that can't stand very well, for example. I know you usually use one for your dachshund to because they've got long bodies. You don't want to be lifting the back leg up. Um, so some of the tools out there have got a place, but it's how they're used. And
yeah,
a lot of the time, they're rather than use them, the tools are being abused. So restraints on too tight, hammocks, dogs hanging up from the H bar. That's not how they were designed to be used. Also,
it's
with sorry, oh, hang on.
it's
Sounds like my hubby's just got home. Just let me mute. Just let me mute myself.
Oh, and the topic of restraints as well, the neck nooses and things, and groomers helpers as well. I've got a really good infographic that I put up a few months back, actually demonstrating what actually happens when it comes to the emotional experience for a dog when you're using the likes of a groomer's helper. And I think if anyone wants to see that infographic, I'll share it on our group. But I can't,
I think that'd be
because the
really good.
comments are going, it was, and it's just realizing that obviously control doesn't mean safety, and that if you're forcing a dog and not considering the emotional experience for the dog, as soon as that dog's released, there's a high probability, like a spring, the dog's going to react in some negative
Yeah.
way as well. You can't guarantee that it's going to keep you safe, so it shouldn't be used for shortcuts. But yeah, I'm trying to find the comment that was said about the groomer's helper, because that's one tool I have never and would never use ever, just for that reason. Can't find it.
Yeah, and what's the I was going to mention? Yeah, the
It's the Mickey range.
personally,
Sorry, I'm just answering that question. It's the Mickey range. So if you look it up online, you'll get it, because they have got a full doodle range, don't they? Mickey.
yes, they do a doodle range, and they also do a bamboo range, and those
Yeah.
brushes are just so lovely. I
I
really
had
like
it
their bamboo
all
brushed
back
as
to
well.
me, did, and I was honestly in heaven. I've got so much of their products now. Fetched is quite a good brand as well, actually. I know that they go to Crufts quite a lot. Have you seen them? Fetched.
Yeah, I think I
Oh,
didn't go see them this year, but I know they were across last year. Um, Also, just one of the things I wanted to say, because I know some groomers have to, if they're in corporate or a multi-grooming salon, they have to use the safety aids for safety. But what I would really recommend, instead of using a neck noose or collar, use a harness type. Nikki, Just Think Dog, last year she bought out a a, a grooming harness that has 4 openings on the back, so you can open to bath and brush and clip.
oh,
I think Nick is in the chat, so she can put the link in
okay.
if she wants.
I'll definitely do
Um,
that. Sounds really good.
so taking any pressure off the neck
Yeah.
um, is amazing to start off with, but giving that dog putting a harness on gives them a better sense of balance as well, because it's more central. We're not pressing on the neck, and if they do accidentally fall off the table, they're not going to break the neck or
Oh,
do
but it's not
serious
even
damage.
that. It's the vagus nerve, and it's like this is another
Absolutely.
thing that people really need to be educated on, like groomers, especially because of the tools that we're recommended to use, is the significance of all of those vital muscles and bones and cartilages that are all in the neck region, and any form of pressure. There's a study, and I'll share it in the group. There was a study done not long ago, and it actually showed it wasn't to do with grooming, but it was to do with slip leads and collars. And the results of the study was that any form of pressure on the neck can cause significant trauma to the neck. So if you can imagine a neck noose and a resisting dog, how much pressure, or for example, the dog we saw in that video, the potential damage that has caused that poor dog, you think.
Yeah, but
If you
it's not just the damage it can do to the neck. I'm sure that on some dogs that do a lot of tap dancing on the table, I think a lot of that is because the pressure around the neck's too much, and it's sending pins and needles down to the feet.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I mean, I've
Well,
not got any research to back that up, but
it's observation, isn't it? And
it
it's like,
is. It's
yeah, you have to watch what you're observing and take from that as much as you can, because we know that the vagus nerve is connected to all major organs in the body. So if it's linked to everything, it's also linked to the brain as well. So you've got like a higher chance of syncope, for example, so faint. There's just so much damage that the likes of a grooming loop or a neck noose can do to a dog. So again, it's trying
especially if
to.
they're panicking.
Well, that's it. I know.
It was
Um,
really interesting. I went to a grooming show last year against my better judgment. I must admit, I went to do a seminar there, and I really, I really didn't enjoy it at all. But I went and I delivered the seminar. But Nikki came with me from Just Think Dog. She's
Yeah,
just on.
put up the
She's
link there,
she's just put the link up.
yeah.
And there was a doodle on the table, and it just didn't know where to put its feet. It was like this the whole time. And it's got the noose on, and I said to Nikki, I said, go and put your harness on, see if she'll let you put the harness on the dog. And I'm still kicking myself now that I didn't video it, because she went over and the groomer allowed her to put the harness on, and the harness has got a little square that puts a little bit of that fits on the chest, and Nikki put it on and then just pulled the harness up a tiny, tiny little bit, so this bit of fabric pressed against the chest, and the dog just went and stood still
Wow.
for the rest. It was amazing. The dog just knew where to put its feet. Then it affected its proprioception that much. The dog just stood there amazingly for the rest of the groom until the judges came round and she had to put the noose back on. Then it was just all
Ah,
over the place again. And
I
I'm
think
just kicking. I just kicked myself that I didn't video it.
Could you imagine if you posted that on social media? Like, because I think a lot of people just don't believe that it's that significant until they see it in person and they see the difference that cooperative grooming can make versus force. You know, it's we need more content out there showing
Yeah,
that
and it's
actually,
not about not using some tools, it's about using appropriate tools and in an appropriate way. Because again, you could use Nikki's the Just Think dog harness, but if you've got it really strapped up really tight so the dog's got
yeah,
nowhere to move, that's again going to cause stress. Where if you got it, you've got it loose so the dog can choose to sit down if it wants, or just move,
yeah,
adjust its body, its weight, then a harness is a really good alternative to a collar. You
I've
can
seen,
still use a
um,
belly band.
I've seen. Have you heard of Dr. Ava Frick? She's done quite a lot of seminars and conferences online, and she's a vet. And she did a demonstration of, it was like vet examinations, but she used a Pilates ball. So, you know how one of those squishy Pilates balls you get are quite small, but she had that underneath the kind of stomach region of the dog on the table just for that cushiony support, and it was so effective. And it was like a Pilates ball. I was like, who does what? That a Pilates, my dad couldn't get a Pilates ball big enough to fit underneath Nala, to be quite honest.
What do you do? They do the really big ones.
The big gym balls. But it really did work for the dog she was working with. And I thought, it doesn't have to be something fancy. You can have something in your house that maybe is suitable to use instead of your kind of typical conventional tools. It doesn't have to be something, that's well known in the industry.
No, as long as it's used in an appropriate way, that it's not causing any further distress to. Because I know some groomers, hopefully nobody here puts things like hard boxes underneath them so the dogs
Oh,
can't sit down.
oh,
If you're going to if you do need to use something, rolled up towels is a good option just
yeah,
for 2 minutes. I really wouldn't say use rolled up towels for a long prolonged period, but if it's just to get the bum clear or just to do one back nail because it's a bit dodgy on its legs, then at least give them some comfort in what you're using.
yeah. I'm just reading these comments and making sure I'm not missing anybody out since it's.
Yeah, I must admit I struggle to read the comments and talk.
And I'm trying to multitask and listen at the same time, and I'm like panicking trying to keep up with everything. I'm like, whoa. But no, I mean, do you know what? The discussion for tonight is basically trying to get an idea of where everyone stands in terms of where they think the industry is today and how best to kind of make it progress rather than take 10 steps back. And most people that have commented on tonight's live talk right now and also earlier on in all the polls seem to be in agreement that really has to start with how people are educated, but also how the tutors teach as well. Because if we're not getting taught the right things, then we can't expect to be doing it straight away either. And not
Absolutely.
many people don't have the money that it takes to go out and invest in further training as well, and that's the issue, isn't it? You're investing, is it £5,000 now for a qualification in dog
Yeah.
grooming?
I mean,
And if
that's
you're
a lot of money to then not have all the
the right
information you need.
or not even the right education, even if you think, oh, do you know what, that course did cover behaviour, but then, future down the line, you've realised that the information you were taught about behaviour was completely outdated, and you think, well, what did I spend that money on? I think Matthew really did hit the nail on the head with that when it comes to we need more kind of regulation of tutors and having them show that they're investing in their CPD as well and how they teach qualifications. I don't think, I've said it before, I don't think a qualification guarantees competency. We've proved it time and
Absolutely.
time again. I am qualified. I actually decided to get my qualification. I failed my first 2 attempts because I was that stubborn. I was like, I'm not doing it the way you want to do it. I'm going to do it the way it feels right for me. And I failed twice. And then I decided to do the fast track option where I did it in my own salon. So it was my own kind of space and I knew it well. And so that was just before COVID, I think I did that. And I passed based on doing my own thing. So it was through cooperative care. And the feedback I got at the end was that, yes, Stephanie, I mean, we pass you because we can't fault what you've done because you've worked with a dog and that's that. But you're unorthodox. And I was actually told if you ever think of going to a salon to work like for someone else, and we would probably ask you to come back and do more training and then reset something. And I was like, that is so bad, that is so bad. But do you know what? I took my qualification. I proved that you can do it. So I know a couple of people had said, oh, we're too frightened to do our qualification because I don't want to do it the way that they tell you to do it. Well, I'm letting proof that you can. Because if you do, fundamentally, if you do your job, but you do it, your way, they can't really fault you for that. Because see if the groom is fine anyways, it's absolutely, they can't say to do it.
I just don't see the point of doing the qualification now. I've never been asked if I'm qualified, but then again, everybody knows that comes to me, no, I've got
Yeah.
experience and behaviour qualifications, which for the dogs I groom, the behaviour side is more important than, getting a perfect cut.
It's a really tough situation because I've got students in obviously my academy that aren't qualified either, and I never stipulated when I launched the academy that it had to be solely qualified groomers, because I just feel like you're depriving so many amazing groomers then of an opportunity to learn more. And I think that until things change in conventional grooming curriculum, we have to be open to allowing people to learn more about behaviour and training and those sorts of like places like your course and my course, because otherwise they're never going to learn anywhere else. It's one of those ones where I just feel like the qualification doesn't stand for anything worthwhile anyway. So right now, is it really worth it?
Yeah, I know that it is. I suppose it's worth it in the fact that you can show that you've got that qualification to people, and a lot of owners don't realise that actually what that qualification entails, but they think because you've got a grooming qualification from a recognised body that you must be a good groomer. And yes, you might be able to do the perfect cut on the perfect dog, but can you handle the dogs that find grooming more difficult? And one of the things I wrote a few notes, the things I wanted
to prepared.
I've only got a few, but one of the things I wanted is the language we use as well.
Oh yeah. It's that's one that really peeves me, and it's so easy to do, but it's when it's
when you say, oh, I've groomed this aggressive dog today.
Yeah.
If it's not an aggressive dog when it walks into the salon, it's not an aggressive dog. It's a dog that is stressed. So and how you frame that dog, if you think of that dog as being aggressive, you're going to react and use tools for an aggressive dog. You're going to treat that dog differently. You're going to approach that groom differently if you think of it as being an aggressive dog. If you think of that dog as being a grooming sensitive dog, you're going to be more empathetic. You're going to be more compassionate. You're going to try and think of different ways of making the grooming experience easy for that dog. So that terminology needs to change as well.
Yeah. Oh no, I know, because Laura Donaldson actually does quite a lot of webinars on reactivity as well, doesn't she? And how even using the word reactivity can be really dangerous, because if you're being brutally honest, everyone's reactive. That's a natural response. You have to be reflexive. You have to be reactive to life. But she tries to encourage people to use highly sensitive instead, because they're struggling with something, and you have to understand what they're struggling with. But it's not necessarily a bad thing that a dog is reactive, and it's trying to step away from that as well. So it's really interesting.
The reactivity is trying to protect themselves, and it's an instinct, isn't it, to keep yourself safe?
Yeah, Stubborn, that's another one, yeah, another awful. And drama queen as well. As I think some of the comments from the TikTok video that we shared was what was the one I sent you, Sue, that I got a reply from? Somebody had commented and said something to do with I can't even remember, but some of the posts that were the comments that were getting posted were so ignorant to emotional the emotional advancement of dogs as well. It was just like, oh no, they're being stubborn, they're being drama queens, they're being spoiled, they're doing this, they're doing that. And you think, no, just think a wee bit bigger here and see actually what's happening. I will not be doing a formal qualification until it's updated. I know. And then somebody actually said to me as well, why are you pushing for it so much? Because if that is covered in your curriculum, then what happens to the HGA? I'm like, that's a very good question. I've just done myself. We've just done ourselves out of jobs.
Probably.
But it's the whole point of what we're doing, isn't it? It's not about that. It's about changing the industry for the better. And if that means that, then that's fine. It's not. We're not doing it for us. We're doing it for the dogs and for the experience.
For the dogs, isn't it? Nobody. We've got to advocate for them. And I think one of the things is that if the puppy grooming is where it all starts, and considering, because the puppy doesn't say puppy for life, it goes through adolescence and various other stages, and the groom has to be adapted for each new stage. So you might get a puppy up until 5 months and it's really good for grooming, then it's adolescence and it's a nightmare. But if you're still grooming it the way you did when it was a puppy, that's going to have a massive effect on it as well. So if we can baby dogs through, I know people don't like that terminology, through till they're mature, then we shouldn't have so many problems. If groomers knew more about behaviour, about communication, about trigger stacking, about calming signals, how the autonomous nervous system works, emotions and observations, I wouldn't be needed, because the dogs would be confident being groomed and wouldn't need to use shouty body language and biting to stop the groom.
Yeah, because that's their communication at the end of the day. They can't verbally speak to us in the way that we understand. They communicate the way that they communicate. Dawn Libby actually said something really interesting. He trained in a restraint-free training centre, but 90% of the students went on to use restraints after the qualifying. That must be down to kind of just the overall pressure of grooming as a whole, like, isn't it? It must be either that or they've went into salon, use restraints, and
they went into more to groom salon, or asked for advice on Facebook, where we know. And I think this is another issue we need to address as well, just for our own personal sanity. I know 5 or 6 years ago, every time there was a post on Facebook, I would feel the need to make a comment. It did irrelevant to what other people were saying. Now I'm more I can't think of the word, my brain's gone bleh. If I see somebody doing something I object to, if I'm the first couple of people to comment, I'll add some educational comment in there. I try not to criticize, but we'll put some educational information in there. If we've already got 20, 30, well, even 5, 10, put a muzzle on, do this, do that, I just put the link to my Facebook group in now, because I know if I start to try and educate after 5 or 6 people have put, more restraints, more muzzles, that I'll just start getting attacked then. So for my own sanity and protecting my own nervous system, I just put the link to my Facebook group, then people can choose to ignore it. So, and it might be a bit of a cop-out, but if the general trend is all, more force, then they're not, my comment's going to not go down well, and then I'm going to get attracted, and then it will actually distract from the original post. What I will do sometimes, if the person that's posted is asking for help, I might drop them a PM, a private message, with some advice rather than putting it in the group. If people have already saying, more restraints, more muzzles, cone, everything. So just think about how best to comment on some of these posts, to protect yourself. Because I know over the weekend, a lot of groomers that have commented on that one particular post of saying, oh, well, I've been shot down, I've been made fun of. So
It's
protect
the word
yourself a little bit as well.
snowflake triggers me. I remember many years ago now, that was the word that was circulating whenever you heard mine or your name, and it was just, and even today now, it triggers me so much because it's just that, it's that ignorance. Like as soon as you mention the word consent when it comes to a dog or a cat, people just laugh. They just don't understand, and sometimes it's one of those, I learned the hard way, as you know, Sue, that you can't fight fire with fire. It's one of those things that planting seeds and hoping that one day they come back. It's really difficult to get that happy balance. But there are occasions where you can't help it and you get pulled into the drama and you're like, oh, this is a ridiculous post. And you do enter into that debate, and then you go and you feel rotten after it. You think, nobody's listening.
And it just stresses you for the rest of the day. So
I think it definitely has to start with the education, to be honest, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But how do we get that into the industry? That's the biggest question.
So I know that there's the British Dog Groomers Association, it's kind of ran by PIF. For anyone that doesn't know who PIF are, they're American based, aren't they? But they have I think they were the ones that introduced the City and Guilds qualification for groomers. Might be wrong. If somebody knows better, then please let me know. But I'm pretty sure that's where that came from.
I was told that DEFRA set the curriculum. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, and I think they kind of worked alongside the people. But there's also the British Isles Grooming Association. Obviously, Paul has taken over directorship there, and I know that they're trying to push for groomers to be or the grooming industry to be regulated and for qualifications to be mandatory. But I just don't think that the curriculum's ready yet for that. I think it needs to be reviewed and updated, doesn't it? It's like it's easy
Absolutely.
to say.
I'd be concerned if the industry was regulated at the moment, because I think it will focus more on the aesthetic side.
Yeah,
that's my concern.
That's the worry, isn't it? We can't run before we can walk. We have to get it right first before we expect it to be regulated under the right kind of ethos and approach. Because if you're not targeting the areas that are lacking, then we're just regulating. We're doing so much more damage then as well, because we've got groomers like you, for example, that aren't qualified that would be able to operate, and you think that's the worst thing that could happen. You can't do that. We need these people in the industry, and yes, I don't think that that's the route for us now. I think that we need to look at the likes of the people that are writing these courses and saying, like, we really need to bring in other people that actually have experience in this, and maybe revamp the curriculum a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think because at the moment for level 3, the breed standards are part of that. So why not take off the breed standard element and make that like a level 4, but have the preload it with the behaviour, because a lot of people now don't do breed standards. Very few people want breed standards these days. They just want something easy to maintain because it costs less.
A lot of people can't afford to keep up with it. And also actually affordability in terms of education as well. A lot of people can't afford to be qualified. There's two different things we need to think about with that as well. Victoria's signing off. Oh gosh, I know we always talk for ages, so don't we? We could go on forever. I actually put 2 hours on this, but I was like hopeful that we wouldn't go too long into it. But everybody's saying the same thing. Consent and cooperative care should be standard. It's welfare at the end of the day. Yeah. We need some big names in the industry to start the change.
I think it's a difficult one because I think it's a difficult one because not every groomer is in a position to do consent-based grooming or cooperative grooming. But for most dogs, they don't need that really 100% consent. They need just body language being observed. They need the groomers to pay more attention to the body language, to adapt the groom slightly, change from the noose to the harness, perhaps lower your table. Some things can be done much more efficiently than they're currently being done. Throw the order you're supposed to do the dog out the window because I can't even remember what it is. Yeah, Nick is saying she's spoken to a few big names in the industry, and I might as well have spoken to the wall. I think we've both had that.
But you have to bear in mind as well, like a lot of the big names in the industry have their fingers in a lot of pies, and there's a lot of things that they benefit from in terms of partnerships and collaborations with big product companies, and so they don't quite want to step into a new way of doing things either, because that's not going to be financially beneficial to them either. So yeah, there's a lot of politics at play with that as well. I think you just hit a brick wall with most of them, don't you? But it's just one of those things. Lindsay's saying, I love Lindsay. Hi. She likes to educate others. Yeah. Dog-centered rather than learn to groom their dog. And I think as well, actually, see, when you're talking about teaching them, I always say to my students, offer grooming masterclasses for your dog carers, because even like for instance, COVID, that was a massive learning curve, I think, for everyone. But it highlights how much groomers are basically how owners rely on groomers. So if ever that were to happen again, if you offered grooming masterclasses to your dog carers, you would at least then know that they've been taught the basics in the way that you do things as well, so that if anything was to happen, they at least have that there, to kind of fall back on. But equally, there are dogs out there that might not be suitable for salon-based grooms as well. So
yeah, I think that's one of the benefits as well of people, my owners sitting in on my grooms, because quite a few of them travel at least an hour each way, and perhaps longer term that's not sustainable for them. So what I've done is we've got the dog to a point where grooming has become more manageable for them. We've learned the techniques that suit that individual dog the best, and then I can show the owner how to groom their dog at home. So I've probably got, I've got quite a few now that have come to me. We've worked together to find the perfect way to groom their dog, and now they groom their dog at home. I've got another one that was with me this morning. They're moving to Wales. So what we're going to start doing now, she's going to start doing some of the grooming. When he comes for his next appointment, she'll start doing some of the grooming so that she can groom him at home, because I personally think he could cope in a reasonable salon that used perhaps a harness rather than collars, but he can only cope with about an hour session. So he's not a massive fan of the dryer. So if he went to a salon where they were expecting to fluff dry him and spend 2 hours making him pretty, he would not cope with that. So I'm just showing her how to groom him, so that when they move to Wales, that they're all ready and sorted.
And it's then carers are getting a sense of empowerment as well, and they're getting to benefit from that experience, because when it is done cooperatively, it can be quite a healing practice. I mean, you can really find it relaxing. I also love brushing. Nala, not so much, but he kind of gets pulled up. But Louis, when he was alive, he honestly, I've got a photo of Louis. I don't know if you've seen it, Sue, but he's like upside down. His tongue's like hanging out. He's like loving life, and I'm with him. And I could do it for hours, and I always felt so calm when I did it. So it's a really good bonding experience when it's done consensually as well, and it's something that the groomers aren't benefiting from when they're not doing things consensually. Lindsay and Dawn are talking about the demand in their area for groomers like us, and obviously when, for example, if their books were full and a person was to ask, like, who do you recommend, and having to say no, it's like the worst feeling in the world, because that can be a lot of, you know, guilt and pressure as well for groomers like us. And it's, again, how do we target more groomers in more areas then, so that we can combat that? That's another question. So I suppose a question for everyone watching is, what do you think is putting groomers off doing things the way that, you know, cooperative based groomers do things? Because that's the question we need answered, really.
Yeah, and I think some of that actually comes back to social media again, because we have been mocked quite a lot, and there's a lot of, the owners don't want it. The owners probably don't know it's available, and if they
I
knew
think,
it was available, they'd want it.
well,
You know,
I think Lindsay mentioned that actually, she says there's more and more people asking for that sort of service, and I don't think that they know to ask about it, because they probably just assume it's not like that.
they probably assume it's already done. You know,
Yeah,
a
probably,
lot
yeah,
of, you know, I mean, I said right at the beginning that when I went into groomer training, I got no idea what took place in a grooming salon. I was
yeah,
horrified, to be quite honest. And I actually managed to get quite a, I didn't have that much of a negative experience from handling point of view, but I wasn't taught any dog behaviour, but she knew I knew it already, so that's probably why. But, you know,
I think Sylvia's
that's not always the case.
she's Sigma price as well. I think people are put off by pricing. Is this customers you're saying, as in dog carers, or do you think, or is this more because of, because what do you think puts off other groomers learning how to do more cooperative based grooming? That's the question, because we obviously want to increase the number of holistic or consensual based groomers there are in the area. So that's a question. I mean, customers is another it's another topic.
Yeah.
But if there were more holistic groomers, it would take pressure off of the ones that are out there.
Yeah, a lot of owners don't want to pay us to do nothing, and I think that comes down to the way we sell ourselves, and the way we explain how we do what we do and why we do it that way.
Yeah.
And I've got loads of behaviourists that say, can you refer me to a groomer in my area? And that one behaviourist might have 15 clients that,
Yeah.
you know, they're looking for a groomer for their clients. And if they're working with that particular behaviourist or trainer, then they will already expect a consensual based or dog centered way of grooming. Yes, Dawn's just put, she's the most expensive groomer. I've actually just increased I do 4 sessions. First, owners have to pay for the first 4 sessions, and I've just increased my price, and nobody's flinched at it. It's
Yeah.
still not horrendous. I know I could charge a lot more, but that's not what I came into the industry for, you know. And because I learn so much from every new client I take on that I can incorporate into my training courses. You know, yes, the money's nice, but I think for me, it's what I learn from the dogs as well.
I think it's one of the pricing such a kind of, it's a really difficult conversation to have, because it all depends on, it's so many different factors, isn't it? Because you've got people like you and I who maybe have other income streams in terms of like us educating other groomers and things. We have another income stream, but for groomers that are maybe solely relying on their grooming income, it's going to be different. And again, your demographics, it's going to change the pricing slightly as well. And it's one of those things, you shouldn't be worrying about what other people are charging and having that kind of form the basis of what you're charging. But equally, you don't want to be under the mindset of, oh, if she's charging X, I'm going to undercut and do better. Because again, it's just a mentality to have. But I mean, that's expensive and people pay for me. So
yeah. One of the things I would suggest groomers do is try and make contact with local positive reinforcement-based trainers and behaviourists.
Yeah.
They are a massive benefit to getting more clients. So if you reach out, particularly if you've got a positive reinforcement-based trainer that does puppy classes, go along to the puppy, ask if you can go and help support them at the puppy training classes as an assistant. So then you're learning more positive based techniques, but also you've got access to potential new clients that already have that open-mindedness about positive
Yeah.
reinforcement and want good experiences for the dogs. But yeah, I've got so many behaviourists already looking for groomers that follow our ethos. So start looking around your local behaviourists and trainers and make contact with them and see if you can build up a mutually beneficial experience, partnership.
That is, it's one of those, if there are more people around you singing from the same hymn sheet, it's adding credibility to what you're saying, so people are more inclined to listen. If you're the only person saying one thing, it's really difficult for a person to believe it. But it's a case of really just utilising the network around you and making the most of that partnership. You're absolutely right. It's so crucial. I think people are just too shy to do it a lot of the time, and they're quite private and greedy with their work ethos, and they don't want people copying, and it's like one of those things where you want everyone to do it, because the more people doing the same thing, the less options carers have for going elsewhere, because it's basically like it or lump it. If you want the dog run that way, then you're going to have a hard time finding someone like that, because everyone's consensual, so it's about changing that mindset and that culture. Yeah, it's a really difficult industry to crack, and I think it's the same, isn't it, in every kind of pet care related sector. The horsey world is just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah,
There was also
and we know the dog training industry needs a massive shake-up as well. So if you are going to be looking for a behaviourist or trainer, make sure that you look on the reputable membership size. Don't go to the master dog
we're getting fatigued. It's so bad. We were going to have this on Zoom, by the way. We had every intention of having all your faces on the screen, but then we realised there was only a minimum of 100 people, and now we look at this now and it's at 33, so we could have easily had them on Zoom, but we were just worried in case obviously a lot more of people were tuning in live and couldn't then get access to the Zoom. So that's why we went on to StreamYard, because it was basically the way to get over 1,000 members access. So we're not being rude. We would have loved to have seen all your lovely faces, but just rather than our ugly mugs, honestly. But no, it's one of those ones. How do we go forward? Who do we speak to? And how do we push it forward? This is going to be kind of like sprung on you suddenly, Sue, but a few years back, we were actually thinking about starting an association, for that specific purpose, really. And I think it's something like that really needs to be reignited. We need to have an official, I don't even know what it would be, but an association anyway, a movement of people just all wanting the same thing and pushing forward to be listened to, because I don't think there's anything really out there that's quite doing that yet. Where behaviour, training, communication, and all of the other stuff, skin and coat care, are the fundamental foundations before styling. It's something that we need to think about, because I don't know, who would you trust? I don't really know which direction you would take it.
I think one of the most important things for me at the moment is if we had an association that we could guarantee owners that the members of that association will treat your dog the way that we treat the dogs, and not just talk the talk, but actually walk the walk as well, then we could help so many more owners find the right groomer for their dogs. Honestly, I must have at least 30 different areas where people are looking for a groomer at the moment. And then on top of that, I've got behaviourists saying they want me to recommend somebody in their area that they potentially recommend to 10, 15, 20 of their clients, and then trainers as well. So there is the demand out there, but it's just trying to get something.
Yeah.
Because we've both got, you've got your HGA approved, and I've got my Taking the Girl approved. But at the
Yeah.
moment, there seems to be a reluctance to join either of those. And again, I did ask the question in my group a few weeks ago, why not people not wanting to get approved or do the training? And it all came back to sort of the owners don't want it. I know the owners want it. Nearly every consent-based groomer I've spoken to, the books are full at the moment, so they can't
Yeah.
take on any more. Or groomers that groom in a way that I'd find acceptable. They're all fully booked. So there's the demand. There's the demand.
It's a laziness though, isn't it? It's like, why should I have to go out and learn something else and pay more money when I've already invested £5,000 and I'm qualified? So I don't need to do
Absolutely.
it. And it's one of those, well, I, in my opinion, I think it's going to change, whether it's sooner or later. I think it will have to change because everything else is changing. But it's one of those, those ones that's really hard to. I always say the best way to convince someone is to demonstrate what you do and how you do it different, because if they can't see it, it's hard to believe it. And I think that's basically what it is. Unfortunately, my books are closed due to arthritis in my fingers. So that's so sad. Lillian,
Yeah.
that's awful because oh God, we need you. And that's another thing as well, like with groomers, we definitely have an expiry date. It's such wear and tear in your body, isn't it? It's like one of those ones where how do we look after ourselves while trying to obviously look after dogs, because that's another big thing that people resist, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think again, it's if we spend more time getting the dogs to cooperate with us and do stuff for us, it's less stress on the body. As I say, I had a knee replacement last year, and because I sit to groom, I don't stand, I sit, it meant I could go back to work after 6 weeks
Wow, yeah,
because the knee
yeah,
was down. And because the dogs get themselves on and off my table and in and out the bath, again, I don't have to lift any dogs. Else otherwise that would have I don't think, knowing how my recovery was and my confidence walking around, I don't think I would have felt confident picking a dog up and carrying it over to the bath until at least 3-4 months after I had surgery. But as it was, because the dogs already do everything for me, it was 6 weeks. So I only missed one, it was like the 6 weekly cycle.
yeah.
No dogs had to miss an appointment because they did all the hard work for me. I don't fight with dogs. I
That's
the
you're
dog.
absolutely right. Yeah, it puts less strain on. It's harder to. Well, you can see from that again, going back to that TikTok video, how that would have been horrendous trying to control that dog in that sort of state. So that's probably why she just stood back. Again, a lot of people were saying that's not even a lack of education, that's a lack of empathy and a lack of
Yeah.
compassion. And there is that aspect of things as well. There are groomers out there, sadly, who shouldn't be in the profession at all because they just don't have that compassionate.
Yeah, you can't teach empathy and compassion, but
No. And again, I suppose in terms of regulation, that's probably one of the things that would benefit, because obviously there's no way a person would pass regulation with that sort of.
absolutely.
I mean, surely not. There must be something awfully wrong if that's the case. I would imagine. I would imagine it's physically hard for those that wrestle. Exactly. No, yeah, I can imagine. That's probably why she stood back. Somebody mentioned ABTC. I'm actually putting the HDA through ABTC registration, which is exciting. So it'll be the first grooming course to be put through ABTC. So
The
that's
dog training college.
yeah, the Animal Behaviour and Training Council. So we're going through that now. So it would mean then that obviously the training through the HCA would be worth something more than just, it's known more in the behaviour and training world than it is just the grooming side. So that's exciting. So that's hopefully happening in the next kind of year. It's a very long process, so that's the only thing.
I think that's one of the. This is one of the surprising things about ourselves. We're probably better known in the behaviour world than we are in the grooming world.
Oh, that is so. I know, because honestly, I'm like, I don't even think groomers in my area like me very much. I'm hoping that some of them are listening and like actually see I'm a nice person. But I think a lot with a lot of groomers as well. I think they hear the word consent or they hear the word holistic and they get their hackles go up because they're defensive. It's as though, oh, you're trying to tell me that I'm not compassionate, or you're trying to tell me that I'm doing it wrong, and I think again there's that as well, is that trying to make it clear to people that we're not telling you that what you're doing is wrong, but we're trying to obviously show you that there's ways to improve the results you're getting and make the job easier for you at the same time. And I think that's what my major issue is with, like, when it comes to trying to get out there and communicate with people in my area, is that I don't think they'll quite understand my intentions when it comes to that. So
yeah, it's hard not to come across as preachy.
I think that's yeah.
And I think that's what gets people's back up. But it's not that we're trying to preach, and it's not that we're trying to criticise people's approach. It's that we're trying to educate, both for the groomer's benefit and the dog's benefit as well.
And what we're good at, I would quite happily trade. I'd be like, you know what, you show me how to do that lovely little Asian face, and I'll show you how to communicate and we'll all live happily ever after. I think we've all got our strengths and weaknesses, and it's trying.
And I think some of it as well goes back to that, if you don't know, you don't know. So if somebody can tell you, then you know, then you can do different things.
Yeah.
And it is a lot of sort of the way I work. It is a lot of detective work.
Yes.
It's less about grooming skills and more about my detective and observation and investigation skills.
Yeah. I think as well, I think trying to eradicate as well, a lot of people think we're trying to tell groomers that they have to get an official behaviour qualification. So if we tap back into what we said early on, like very early on in this conversation, like 5 hours ago, we're just about learning behaviour and training in the context of a grooming environment. That's basically all you need. You don't need to go off and do a more advanced behaviour course. That's not really what we're aiming to or striving for in the industry, although obviously the more the better. I don't even know with you, Sue, but a lot of students that have graduated with me have went on to do more advanced behaviour courses.
Yeah,
which is
once
amazing.
You get the bug. Once you get the bug.
But that's not what it really has to mean. You can just simply have enough to cover the context of the grooming environment and then bounce off of your other network of associates, and it just has to be a wee bit more than what you know today, that it doesn't.
And you know what? I know more today than I did last week. I know a lot more today than I knew 8 years ago, when I thought I was a really good, compassionate groomer. When we stop learning, and we learn the most from the dogs when we're looking, I think it's time to hang up a scissors when we think we know it all.
Oh, yeah. I know, it's like you never stop being a student. I know I'm always, my husband actually goes nuts because I get quite stressed as well. Like I've noticed I don't quite cope under pressure, and then I take on so many courses, and then I get all stressed. And he's like, "Why are you enrolling on that course? You're still doing this one." And I've got the fear of missing out. It's like, but that one's got a good offer, so I have to sign up to it now.
It must be done today. I found it quite a lot of pressure because I was doing the ethology and legs one, the postural gait analysis one, and I'm doing Daniel Shaw's trauma-informed professionals one as well. But I've finished 2 of them now, so I've just got the Daniels left to do now. But I'm sure something else will pop up.
And it is, and that you're always striving for more. And I think that's the issue. Once you start learning, you don't want to stop learning. But yeah, no, I definitely think that there are loads of groomers that obviously have the same opinion here in terms of what's wrong and what's right with the industry and how things do have to change drastically. And I think going forward, we really need to think about, maybe over the next few days, everyone that's listened this evening, think about what that might look like in terms of how do you think we can move things forward. Would an association, a specially formed association, be the right approach, or something else? Because we never came on here to tell to tell you what the next best step is. We haven't a clue. We're here we're here to listen to ideas as well, and to obviously join forces with as many people that are sharing the same thoughts and views as us. So we're definitely all in it together. Natalie had also mentioned that she's got a big project coming up apparently, which is meant to really shift things in the right direction. So if Natalie, if you want to share that with us in the group as well, whether it's now, I don't know if you're still here or later on, and we would love to hear more about that. But I think we've all got some amazing ideas, and it's just trying to bring us all together, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what we can do, sort of more or less straight away, is put in some, perhaps create a guide and put in some of the really good behaviour and training associations. So if people do want to find a local groomer or behaviourist or trainer near them, that they can find somebody quite easily that's of the right caliber, that are not going to use negative techniques. We can share our academy and my courses, and we can perhaps share some good Facebook groups as well, like the dog-centered care and animal-centered education. We can put some really good resources together that groomers might not be aware of so far.
Oh, there's so many ones that are actually free as well, like just some basic research. You can come across some amazing educational resources out there, can't you?
Yeah, Canine Arthritis Management are just about to do a conference that's free. If you watch it live, it's free, but if you want to watch it later, you have to pay.
That is such a good point. Actually, everyone should sign up to the symposium. It's all about pain, and I think pain is something that every single groomer faces on a daily basis, and some of us just don't know it, but pain is such a significant thing in the grooming environment.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely all sign up to that one. In fact, I've got the Holistic Pet Care Conference that's coming up in August. So from August 9th to the 11th, the Holistic Pet Care Conference is an online free event as well. And CAM have donated 5, I think, VIP tickets to their symposium for access afterwards, obviously. So again, there's like prizes and things that you can have. So definitely sign up to. I'll share that as well. So that's the Holistic Pet Care Conference in August, and it's free. But yeah, there's some amazing resources out there, so we'll share all of that as well. But definitely, let's have a think about how we progress this further. We definitely aren't alone. As you can see, there's so many of us out here. Cannot wait for the. Yes, I know it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. Okay, so it's Hannah Capone. It's hosted that, isn't it? Capone.
Yeah, Capone. Yeah, she's amazing. She was at the conference I went to last year. She only did a 15-minute presentation, but I wish she'd have been there for an hour or so because she was brilliant.
I hate people like that though. I just waffle on. I absolutely hate public speaking, but some people just captivate you from the beginning, don't they? I think we should basically wrap it up since we've been nearly 2 hours. But I personally would like to thank Sue for joining tonight, and also every single one of you.
Thank you to everybody. I'm sure that between us we can get something really interesting moving forward.
Yeah, what I'll do as well is I'll try and find where this is saved, and I'll upload it onto our group. I'll upload it onto our group so that we can obviously get it in replay as well. Thank you so much, Emma. No, honestly, thank you all for joining and staying this long with us. Yeah, it's just good to vent and to share opinions.
And it might be in 3 or 4 weeks' time we can do another one of these. As we progress and make other decisions, we can
maybe have it on Zoom next time. If we're not going to have that many people on the live. I know, to be fair, we weren't sure what to expect because it was literally last minute, wasn't it? So we do appreciate this as a bank holiday and that everyone's obviously spent some time in Easter too.
And it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction from that post yesterday, but I think it needed doing.
Yeah, you were like, just hit it while it's still hot. Just hit it while it's still hot. It's okay. All right. Okay, everyone. Have a lovely evening, and thank you again so much for joining us tonight. And yeah, we'll talk to you all very, very soon, I'm sure.
Okay, bye everyone.